Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Genesis, the 50th chapter. And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And this is after Jacob had died. And in the embalming process, when you look at what that is, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a way of preserving the body for a bit longer, because the body can rot very quickly. So it says here, embalm, preserve a corpse from decay, originally with spices, and now usually by arterial injection of a preservative. So in the ancient world, it was used with spices, and that's what basically they did here. So when they embalmed him, they did that, and you can go into details if you are interested in how the full process works. But it says here, and 40 days were fulfilled for him. So it took this process back then, took about 40 days. For so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. So, in fact, let me look this up here and see. Because it could also be that the embalming allowed the body to be preserved for about 40 days. But let's see. Okay, 40 days were required for him. All right, the embalming process took 40 days. All right, so yeah, first point. So it took about 40 days to complete this process here. For so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned for him 60 and 10 days. That's 70 days. That's quite some time. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh. And the house of Pharaoh would be his advisors, right, and those of his court. So Joseph basically asked them to speak in the ears of Pharaoh to say, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. And it's likely that Joseph didn't go himself because of, this, he was mourning, right? So it's likely that maybe that might have been one of the reasons why he didn't go in the presence of Pharaoh himself, considering, whatever the Egyptians might have considered concerning like uncleanness or being around the dead or so on. Anyway, he sends this message, and Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father with him, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. And they did all this because they knew how important, like they valued Joseph a lot, but they also knew how important Jacob was to Joseph. So, it was to them as though, you know, someone that they loved or that they were fond of was mourning, so they mourned with him. And all the house of Joseph and his brethren and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. So you could tell they were like, damn, because this is a giant, it is a huge amount of people here mourning this person. So this must be a real major event over here. Abal Matazarium, meadow of Egypt. They have it here. What's Abal? Okay, meadow. Interesting. Anyway, continuing on. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave. This is Joseph's sons. Hey, Salakia, Jacob's sons. A lot of J's. And buried him in the cave of the field Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for a possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite before Mamre. And we read about that, right? When he bought that field, it came with that cave for burying. So he used that as his burying place. And Joseph returned on into Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, Joseph will peradventure hate us, and will certainly requite us all the evil which we did unto him. So they got a little paranoid. You know, they were fearful. Their conscience probably bothered them a bit, thinking that maybe it was because of Jacob's sake that Joseph was kind to us. Now that he's dead, Joseph might, he might want to take revenge on us. And they sent a messenger unto Joseph, saying, Thy father did command before he died, saying, So shall ye say unto Joseph, Forgive, I pray thee now, the trespass of thy brethren and their sin, for they did, unto thee evil. And now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. Now, whether Jacob actually said this or not, they're saying that he did. Maybe it's possible that he did, but maybe it's possible they're saying this as well because, it gives the reason that they feared that Joseph might want revenge on them. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, Behold, we be thy servants. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in the place of God? So don't fear. I'm not God to take, this kind of vengeance upon you, right? I'm still your brother. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. And that's a good example of how the Most High works, right? Like the saying, sometimes like a crooked path might lead to a perfect way or a perfect destination. And sometimes it's like that, right? The journey might be rough, but the end destination is ideal. And that was the case here, where it was an evil experience, but it was a blessing in disguise. Because how else would Joseph have gotten to Egypt, right? And matter of fact, in that position. So, where we at? Verse 21. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house, and Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. So you can, at this point, right, it's all in the same chapter, but this is time has passed. Okay, time has passed. And Joseph said unto his brethren, and now he's an old man. That's crazy. I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land onto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So he also made them take an oath to, when they leave, to take his bones and go and basically bury it in the land of Canaan, and not to leave his body here in or his bones here in Egypt. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. And that brings us to the end of the book of Genesis, the 50th chapter, and also the end of the entirety of the book of Genesis. And Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rechak Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.